We're just gonna trash the shit out of this in a rant.
Okay. Hey, welcome to Super Social Club. I'm Jeremy.
This is Whisky and Glenfiddich. I'm Rob.
Welcome to the Whisky Rant Podcast.
It's a little crusty,
It's frustrating.
and it's going to be a little bit of a rant.
I don't understand it. I don't know why.
Some sort of injustice.
Anyway, end rant.
Hello and welcome back to the Whisky Rant Podcast. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Rob.
And tonight we are talking about Whiskey Advocate's Whiskey of the Year, or the company that paid them the most money to have it on the title of their website and of the front page of their magazine. It's Jack Daniel's Tennessee Whiskey, bottled and bond.
Okay, so we looked at the list before we went on camera.
Yeah.
And we joked. So I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I want to put that out there because I don't need a subpoena or something, But I feel like it's in a world where Jack Daniel's Bottled and Bond is the number one whiskey of the year for a company, for a magazine, a highly touted magazine for many, many years. Not so much anymore. Jack Daniel's Bottled and Bond paid, the number one spot. So whatever the number one spot is, what is it, like $500,000?
I mean, okay, this is what happens in the whiskey world, and everyone is privy to it. You get a big magazine like Whiskey Advocate, you get a big, publisher like Jim Murray, and they just name this very basic but widely available and very well priced whiskey as their number one. And we were talking off camera, we don't necessarily have a problem with this. We know that it happens. The problem that I have with it is the score.
Right.
97 points for this whiskey?
No.
Better than pretty much anything ever made ever.
That's a cocktail whiskey. It's a great ABV for a cocktail, for an old fashioned or
These scores are just straight out of control. So stupid. You're just selling this as something that it's not. Why don't you just say, hey, this is our whiskey of the year because it is available and it's affordable. And we're not going to score it 7 points out of 100. We're going to score it something like it should be, which is 80.
Because they would return and say, no, we factor in price, but we feel that because it's so cheap, it achieves all these But no, it doesn't. Let's be honest. I'm barely getting anything on the nose. I'm side by side with the Jack Daniel's Select, which I actually really like, that has their banana profile and that really nice, hubba bubba kind of gum note to it. This doesn't have that.
So let's remind everyone, Bottled and Bond means same year distillation. It means 50% minimum ABV, so 50% on the dot ABV.
Yeah, 4 years old.
At least 4 years old, and in, I guess, a warehouse that's government approved, controlled, looked after.
I don't know, but maybe it's
registered, government registered.
Yeah, something to do with that.
Who knows if that's even
There's actually
still.
some sort of medical reasoning behind that. From what I remember,
I think in the history, it was just a thing that made whiskey more legit because people were bottling it just insanely ways back in the day to make it, to make more money.
Yeah,
this is a way of making it more legit. I don't know about the government bonded warehouse, if that's still even a thing or not with bonded whiskey. Anyway, 50% ABV, same grow season, minimum 4 years.
I think what's also happening here is this is kind of the first time that Jack Daniel's is admitting that it's a bourbon.
Does it say bourbon on there?
It doesn't say bourbon.
No.
But Bottled and Bond is only ever used
a bourbon thing.
For a bourbon, right?
Jack Daniel's likes to distinguish themselves as a Tennessee whiskey and not a bourbon, even though it could be defined as a bourbon. Yeah. They do this charcoal filtering, and that's what sets them apart maybe from other bourbons, but I don't think that negates it from being called bourbon.
I don't think so either.
It's not an additive.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, bourbon can't have additives, but no. That filtering process I don't think is considered an additive.
And it's after the aging process. So the new bourbons can be finished in anything and still be called a bourbon.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
So why would that affect this? It's just a filtering process.
I don't mind the nose on this. It is like the Jack Daniel's character. It's very like muted though. It's very consumer like crafted.
Like, I'm having a tough time picking up all the stuff that I like about Jack Daniel's. Like I said, like I get that banana, but you gotta dig to get it.
I get peanuts in here. This is more kind of like almost like a Jim Beam characteristic to me than.
I get a little peanut in there.
Right?
Yeah.
But it is like that stereotypical like that Jack Daniel's profile. A little cherry in there is nice.
This is not even close to my favorite Jack Daniel's. I would not even give this in the 80s. I would not. Like, I'm not giving this an 80 or better. It's just, it drinks, like, it's light on the palate. It doesn't burn at all. It's probably, like, filtered up the wazoo like crazy.
Yeah. I mean, and we go back to talking about, like, whiskeys of the year, and ours are going to be coming out soon. You know, you look at something that, like, Ralphie and Roy have done. We've talked a lot about the online Scotch Whisky Awards and how there's, like, an independent award ceremony. You know, they're nominated by the whiskey community, voted on by the whiskey community.
Yeah.
You don't get something like this in here because no one in their right mind is going to say that this is worth 97 points and this is the best whiskey of the year because it's not even close to that.
It's not even the best value whiskey of the year.
No.
Like,
what do you pay for this? Do you know?
It's $50.
Canadian?
It was 50 Canadian.
Okay, so let's say that US, you're looking at like maybe $40 or less dollars for this.
You're still getting on LCBO shelves. You're getting better whiskey for that price, right?
We're going to talk about bourbon tonight and American whiskeys and how they've fallen off our radar this last year. And a lot of that has to do with what's available in our area because it's garbage.
For sure.
I was in LCBO today. I took a picture of the American whiskey section. It is so bare and so uninteresting. It would just bore any bourbon drinker to tears. Here's a picture of it. It's like, what do you have in here? There's Jack Daniel's, there's Woodford Reserve, there's, I don't know, maybe there's like Buffalo Trace.
Some Four Roses.
Right, it's like Four Roses. There's nothing interesting.
No.
The LCBO has taken all of their like more allocated stuff and put it online.
Yeah.
1 per customer, 2 per customer, which is the right thing to do. But like any given day, you walk into a liquor store here in this province, there is no good American whiskey to be bought at all.
If you're coming, Ontario's a great place to visit, but don't come for the alcohol. That's it.
You're not going to find any cool stuff here. There's no like hunting bourbon in this province.
That could actually be like the slogan for Ontario. Like, we're great, just don't come for our booze. Like, seriously, our booze scene sucks. It's horrible.
Yeah.
There's a couple decent bourbons, but how many times are you gonna buy Wild Turkey 101 and Wild Turkey Rare Breed?
And how many times can Wild Turkey 101 find its way on like a top list?
Right, exactly.
It's just like so done. You know? Like,
exactly.
It's so done.
Yeah, it's good. It's very good. It's better than this. It's a lot better than this.
It is better than this, yeah.
Right? But it shouldn't be, it's not one of those whiskeys you're going to continue to buy. Like, if you have it, you're like, okay, I'm not going to, like, be upset about this. But this is just not good. Like,
this is a cocktail whiskey.
That's right.
It's something more than that. It's very whatever they did to this, they've blended it or they've mixed it to make it very pedestrian.
Right.
It's very much like
it's so easy drinking.
It's a consumer whiskey.
Yeah, it doesn't drink like you're drinking 50%.
Yeah.
It drinks like 40.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. That's, I guess, the one plus, maybe?
I think that, like, Jack Daniel's drinkers, like, someone who drinks Jack Daniel's, just the regular old, like, number 7, would probably like this. This is actually, like, a good... I would take this over Gentleman Jack any day of the week.
Really?
100%.
Yeah? Okay.
100%. Because this has more oomph to it. Gentleman Jack, for me, I would take number 7 over Gentleman Jack, because I think Gentleman Jack is just, like, is so just watered.
Yeah.
It's just so... It's bland.
I really like the Select. I've always really liked the Select.
Yeah, like, we love Jack Daniel's, like, their single barrel stuff. When they started releasing
the single barrel Select,
we started releasing the single barrels, like, even like the barrel proof single barrel stuff. What was that, 5 years ago or whenever they started doing that?
Yep.
that really was like, okay, yes, Jack Daniels, you have like great whiskey presented in a way that it should be. Like,
right.
do this, do more of this. You know, their single barrel rye that came out, the cask strength rye was really, really good.
Yeah.
They've done a couple of those. The Coy Hill stuff, which came in at like 79% ABV, whatever that was.
Yeah, it was absurd.
Right.
There's a rye that came out with this. Same bottle, like same style bottle. It's actually better. It's actually a lot better than this. My neighbor and I bought them together, and we're like, okay, drink it halfway, and then we'll switch. And we're about halfway, so he's gonna get the rest of this, and I'm actually getting the better of the two bottles, even though they were the same price.
Yeah.
Back when he's at 50%. So it's not a good whiskey. Not in the sense that like a whiskey advocate should have it as their number one.
Here's the thing, right? It's like Jack Daniels obviously pays for advertising space in that magazine.
Yep.
It happens throughout pretty much every single industry. Like, it's not just like whiskey or whatever. It's like every industry does this, right? It's like the companies that pay for a lot of advertising in your magazine, you repay them. It's a long-standing relationship. You give them a whiskey of the year. They sell 1 million bottles of it. And it just continues on and on and on, right? It's business. And, like, the thing is, like, someone who, you know, is buying a gift for someone, like a whiskey drinker, and be like, hey, I got you, you know, the #1 whiskey of the year, and you get, you know, this bottle and bond Jack Daniels, and you're like, okay, thanks, I guess. I mean, like, that's the problem is what happens, right?
Yeah.
It's like someone buys a whiskey drinker this and be like, oh my god, this is like the whiskey of the year, and it's only $38 at my local Total Wine. Like, what a deal.
I think it's sad that they would put it on this list. I think they should have just, you know, had an advertising page for it, which I'm sure they did at some point throughout the year. Can we go through some of the whiskeys on this list?
Yeah, sure.
I want to say that last year, the Lagavulin 11-year-old Offerman Guinness edition.
Which we have right here.
No, this is the new one, the Charred Oak.
Oh,
The Guinness edition was last year.
Okay, yeah.
So this is this year's, the Charred Oak. Last year, that was Whiskey Advocates.
That was
number
Whiskey
one,
Advocates #1.
which I could see that. Like, it's a good whiskey.
Yeah.
It wasn't my favorite Lagavulin of the year, but it was very good.
Yeah.
This is actually better than that Lagavulin.
Yeah.
But their list is very like strange this year.
It is. It's all over the place, and you can look it up. WhiskeyAdvocate.com. Top 20 is out. I mean, like I said before, like, it's the score that really gets me. Like, there's no way in hell this is 97 points.
No.
You should just take off the score and be like, this is our value whiskey of the year.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that's more accurate. And I'd be like, I wouldn't even really have a problem with that. I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, this is what you decided as like your available whiskey that you can go out and get right now, and it's well priced. Sure. #2 was the Redbreast Kentucky Oak Edition, which I guess is just an ex-bourbon cask. 101 proof, 96 out of 100.
Why Kentucky Oak Edition? That makes it sound like so elite. But it's just an ex-bourbon cask. We know what Kentucky is.
Because people that are bourbon drinkers be like, oh, it was matured in a Kentucky barrel. Sweet. It's gonna be like for bourbon drinkers.
90% of bourbon comes out of Kentucky. Like, what's the point of saying Kentucky?
Because the average consumer doesn't know that, right? They're like, oh, an Irish whiskey that was matured in bourbon. Sweet. It's gonna be something
like,
that a bourbon drinker would like.
Don't they understand how condescending that sounds to like everybody else that actually like knows something about whiskey?
They don't care. #3, barrel vintage. Vantage.
Vantage, yeah.
This was coming in at 95 out of 100. Blend of straight bourbon whiskeys, finished in, I think, French oak.
I think there's some
American oak.
I think there's some Mizunara cask.
Mizunara cask.
I think so.
Japanese.
Yeah. I think there's some Mizunara cask.
There we go. Well, that could be interesting.
Yeah, we have a whole bunch of barrels that we're gonna get to eventually.
We'll get to that.
Although bourbon hasn't been the drink of choice on this channel for a while.
Well, yeah, because and like I'm trying to think about like what's gonna be my American whiskey of the year this year. I can't even have the category. I don't think.
Yeah.
I haven't had enough. There hasn't been that much.
Honestly, the one of the better American whiskeys that I've had is that Barrel Seagrass. It's a rye.
Number 4, Dewar's 12.
Dewar's 12. That is laughable.
94.
It's a 94.
94.
Bottled at 40%.
94. You know the highest mark I've given on my channel before? You know what it was?
94.
95.
Okay, 95.
And you know what it was? A Brewer 38-year-old.
Right. Yeah. The highest mark I've given on my channel is a 95, and it's given to the Glenlivet 80-year-old. and years before that, it was
like
a Mortlock 31-year-old.
To say that this Dewar's 12 is 6 points away from a perfect whiskey is the most like irresponsible thing you could possibly do in the whole world of whiskey.
Absolutely, I agree.
Like it's
with
absurd to say that.
That is
it's like
hilarious.
it's unconscionable what they're freaking doing.
No, it makes absolutely no sense.
Number 5, Westward Cast Strength. I don't think I've heard of that before.
I've heard of Westward. We don't get it up here, so we don't.
Number 6, Middleton Very Rare. Probably the most expensive whiskey on this list. 94 out of 100.
Yeah, that's still
2022 release.
Although I don't know. There's some really like old whiskeys in those Middletons. So who knows?
Blue Note Juke Joint Uncut.
Juke Joint.
Not sure if I've heard of that one. Not sure if that's a sourced whiskey.
Who are they asking to vote? Is it the writers only? Like who's? First of all,
they're not doing blind testing. I guarantee that.
How many people do you think ballpark? How many? Okay, first of all, let's start with this. How many whiskey drinkers are in North America? Population is almost 600,000 in all of North America.
Like what percentage of the people who drink alcohol drink whiskey? In North America?
No, sorry, 600 million. I meant to say. Yeah, so population of, what, like the U.S. is what 550 million people, ish, or more than that now.
Let's not get into.
Okay, let's assume
Google will tell us.
All right, let's Google it. We're gonna find out some numbers here. We're gonna do some bro math because this is not scientific at all.
Population of the U.S. 332 million.
Really, that low? I thought it was higher.
Canadian population,
38
million.
Yeah, so.
And you want to do what, Mexico in here as well?
Sure.
Mexico, 130 million.
130. So, okay. Call it
half a billion.
almost half a half a billion.
Call it half
almost
a billion.
half a billion.
Sure.
So, out of that, let's say 10%. 10% are whiskey drinkers, or more. It's got to be more than that. 50% male.
I would say it's. I don't know if it's that much. Maybe
250,000 or million. I keep saying thousand.
Like out of like
250 million males.
You think out of like 10% of people are drinking whiskey. I don't know. It might be high. Maybe.
Okay, maybe not. Let's say
half the people drink alcohol.
Half the people.
And half of that drink beer, exclusively. And then the most popular spirit is like vodka.
And we say men, but like obviously women drink whiskey as well.
Sure, but it's extremely low percentage.
It's very low, and women that consume YouTube about whiskey is even lower because like
my demographic is 99% men.
Yeah, it's literally at 1% for me as well.
So it's like, yeah, I mean, I think 10% is a generous number for whiskey drinkers. It might be like below that. Okay,
let's say, can we say 50 million people drink whiskey? Mm-hmm. That's 10%. I just thought of that. That's actually 10%. Let's say 5%. Let's say, okay, so 25 million.
But what's your point?
So my point is this. Fuck, where did I go with this?
This is what happens when like math comes into the play and then we're just like kind of not seem dumb.
Right. No, we I totally lost my train of thought there. Cool. No, so it was about the magazine and who's voting for this.
Oh, the writers are voting for
it. Right. How many people this is where I wanted to go with this whole thing. And I don't mean to offend anybody that's a writer, but who the hell's buying Whiskey Advocate nowadays? That's all I meant to say is, let's say there's 25 million people still buying whiskey.
Yeah.
25 million people in North America buy whiskey. It's probably less than that.
How many people buy Whiskey Advocate magazine?
How many of those 25 million are buying Whiskey Advocate?
I don't know, but I guarantee you their most sold edition is this one. Is their Whiskey of the Year edition.
Maybe most sold in the last like 7 years.
But like of the whole year of like, let's say they release 12 editions a year.
For sure. That makes sense.
Their Whiskey of the Year edition
Yeah.
is their most sold edition.
You gotta think nobody's buying that. Especially if you can get their whole list of whiskeys of the year online.
True. But, you know, people walk by in the store, they see, you know, Whiskey of the Year, they see Jack Daniel's Bonded, you know, they don't even have to buy the magazine to like have an impact on sales. Right?
So the 1% of whiskey drinkers that are walking through an airport and happen to need some like plain material.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because like literally I don't know anybody that reads magazines anymore. Mm-hmm. Like I read comics, I read graphic novels, I read novels. Mm-hmm. Okay? But I want to know the last time I bought a magazine? It was a whiskey Advocate.
Yeah.
It was a Whiskey Advocate in...
Because they sell some other magazines in the airport as well, if you didn't notice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the last time I bought
they have a little cardboard blocking the first half of it.
The last time I bought a magazine was almost 7 years ago to the date, because I had just started Whiskey in the Six, and like I guess I should kind of know what they're talking about in Whiskey Advocate. Mm-hmm. Completely useless.
Right.
But I did it anyway just to see.
Yeah.
That's the last time I bought a magazine.
Mm-hmm.
I bought, like I said, plenty of books, graphic novels,
right,
comics, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Since, but never a magazine. When's the last time you bought a magazine?
I think I bought a Cigar Aficionado magazine, and it was like the Cigars of the Year for 2021, just because I was curious. And I wanted to have something on my coffee table.
Right.
That looked cool.
Fair enough. And we needed it for wasn't it, didn't it make an appearance in your Halloween edition video?
Oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah. But, like, yeah, you're right. Like, written print is, like, just done. I think I did actually purchase Whiskey Advocate's online edition of their, like, 12 most flipped whiskeys or something like that. I think I went through it.
12
I did a video.
Flipped. Right.
I did a video on that. Right. I did a video on that. It was, like, their 12 most flipped whiskeys. And I commented on how the list was right and wrong.
Right.
With what they did based on what I actually knew was happening in the secondary market.
Yeah.
Because at that time I was very much plugged into the secondary market, both in the U.S. and Canada, because I participated in both.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did a video on that. So I bought their online edition of that episode or edition.
We've fallen off so hard of like knowing what secondary prices are, and like I don't think I have no clue what's going on in the secondary market anymore.
The only reason I know is because like the biggest Facebook group in the U.S. that was bourbon secondary market has now switched to bourbon secondary reference or whatever it is. So it's like there's no bottles for sale on that, but people still update like what stuff's going for.
Okay.
That's the only way I know what's going for these days, because like it's really moved off of Facebook. In the U.S. anyway, because the Van Winkle family hired their big shot lawyers to make sure that happened.
Well, I mean, it was a matter of time before that came to be, and I don't know. I've just been out of it for so long. I don't care to pay secondary on pretty much anything.
It's garbage, because like it's just gotten to the point where it's like you want to vomit in your mouth when you see the prices of things, right? Do you know how much a bottle of Macallan Edition 1 is going for now?
I want to say $4,000.
Yeah, it's like $3,200, $3,400.
Really? Wow.
It's like it makes you want to puke.
Stupidity.
Makes you want to puke.
It's dumb,
right? Like Pappy Van Winkle 15. It's like $2,000 US.
But who's the idiot that's buying that for $4,000? Like who's buying a Macallan Edition 1 for $4,000? Why? Why would
because
you do
they
that?
think it's going to be $5,000 in less than a year. right? Like, who bought Macallan Edition 1 at $1,000 a bottle?
If you put $4,000 into a stock, you're gonna get a better return on your money usually. If like you put $4,000 into Apple, you're gonna get way more return on your money than.
You're not.
You don't think?
No.
Than a Macallan Edition 1 right now?
Well, I don't know, but right now might be the peak.
Okay, yeah, like if you bought a Macallan Edition 1 at its birth.
If you bought it at $1,000, which sounded insane,
Right.
now you've
It's
freaking
$4,000.
tripled your money.
Yeah, but that took years. Like, how long has it been out for?
It didn't take that long.
I know, you're right.
4 years.
Right, but look at what happened to people in the stock market like 2 years ago. They were like becoming instant millionaires overnight, like with nothing.
I mean, markets are hard to decide, but whatever. I mean, you can look at Bitcoin and be like, oh yeah, if you bought Bitcoin at like, 15 grand, you're like crazy, but it went up to like, 55,000 and now it's back down to whatever.
No, you're right. No, like I've never participated in the stock market because I literally know zero about it, but I just can't see people buying a Macallan Edition 1 thinking that bottle is going to go to 10 grand when you can still buy the Macallan Cask Strength, which is a better whiskey, for about $1,000.
Yeah.
Why is that possible?
Because no one's going to open these and drink it. So like drinkability doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good the whiskey is. It matters what people will want it for and want to pay for it, right? Because like they want to complete their sets. They want to complete their sets. Right? And the 1 is the one that no one has. No one has number 1.
It's literally Pokemon for whiskey. That's what it is.
That's why we hate the secondary market now, because like we dabbled in the secondary market when it was like kind of reasonable. And I mean kind of reasonable. Like we could buy Pappy Van Winkle for $600.
Right.
We could buy,
What do you think?
something.
What do you think of this bad boy right here?
Well, I mean, way better than this.
Yeah. No comparison.
I mean, I've never been a huge fan. We're talking about the Offerman Lagavulin. I've never been a huge fan of the Offerman Lagavulins.
Okay.
I would always like prefer to drink the 8 or the 12. Obviously, the 12.
Yeah, I think the 8 is still my favorite. I like this, but I don't know if I like it better than the Lagavulin Offerman Guinness one.
Yeah.
And the Guinness, you could actually taste the Guinness.
Yeah.
Like, I knew that there was a Guinness taste in that. This, I'm not getting a ton of charred oak. Did you get a ton of charred oak on this?
It is drying.
It's dry, oh for sure. It's oaky, but would you equate that to charred oak? I think charred oak, I think bourbon, I think it should be like 5 shades darker than this.
Like, are they saying they put this in like virgin oak cask as a finish?
I think it was a recharred wine cask, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Where does it
that's
say
kind of
that?
misleading. Like, I would rather them do it in like virgin oak, because I feel like virgin oak does really cool things to whiskey,
Nick Offerman actually just
especially
released
Scotch.
an Instagram photo of him. I guess it was like the final days of filming, or he just took a picture from filming The Last of Us. He's in the Last of Us, which is going to be an HBO series in about a month, and he was pumping this, basically saying that.
Of course he was.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if like you poured Nick Offerman just like some insane Lagavulin from like super old, or even just like something crazy like a Samaroli Laphroaig, like
You think he
something-
doesn't have like his finger on the like? He's a big Lagavulin fan.
I know.
I
But,
bet.
like, I've
and
also-
he has the money to like invest in whatever the hell he wants.
But it's also been quoted as saying that Lagavulin 16 is like the ultimate like best Scotch of all time. Nothing's gonna ever beat it, right? Which is like insane to say.
Yeah, of course.
Because obviously there's way better peated Scotches than that. But like, yeah, I don't know. I would love to like have him have a serious conversation, but he won't now, obviously, because he's like so linked to Lagavulin. He's not going to say anything of like good about another brand.
No.
But like, it would
Well,
it'd
sure.
be cool to like be like, man, like, what have you like? What's your favorite whiskey you've actually tried in your life? Because I would love to know like how extensive is his whiskey palate. Like, is he really someone who like wants to go out there and search out lots of cool stuff? Like, has he been bitten by the whiskey bug, or is he just be like, I like Lagavulin, I'm just drinking Lagavulin, and I don't want to try anything else?
There's a bunch of guys like that though. There's like the
Like,
guy
go to a
that
brand and like just don't drink anything else.
that's it. Like
Yeah.
the guy that bought Glenlivet 18 his whole life and never decided to buy a different brand of whiskey.
See, like, that's crazy to me. Because, like, if I had the capital, I would open a new bottle every single day.
Yeah, I know.
I would open a new bottle every day.
I would do the same.
I want to
and
try
then-
everything. I want to
yeah.
try, like, so much cool stuff. Everything different.
You're right. The problem is, and this is like our biggest issue is we both like to open bottles.
Mm-hmm.
We both like to like have an ounce or two, and then never see that bottle again for like a
Right.
year. And we could easily do that with samples, but for whatever reason, it doesn't have that
Doesn't
same.
translate.
Right? Why?
Because we're just fucking whores for consumerism, and we love cracking a new toy and playing with it for 5 seconds and then throwing it in the freaking toy chest.
Yeah.
And you never seeing it again.
It's so bad.
That's why.
We are bad. It's not healthy to be the way we are. Like, look at that. That's the already reviewed side.
Yeah.
Okay, I literally have no space on the shelf.
It's starting to flow over.
It's flowing over to the point, like, I don't know when it's gonna stop, but I gotta,
It's like one of those coin games where you put in a quarter and like the whole thing gets closer to the edge. You put another quarter and the whole thing closer to the edge. And like, and suddenly you put like $150 in, you get $10 back, and you're like, sweet, I won. Can we talk about our boy Ralphie? You know we used to do segments on this show. No, we're not doing segments anymore. We should go back to
we literally just rant now.
When we first started this podcast, we were like, okay, we're going to do a rant about something. We're going to do like a secondary market segment. We're going to do like a what's happening in YouTube segment. We kind of did rant about
We
the
talked about secondary market, yeah. Yeah, let's talk about Ralphie.
So our boy Ralphie. So recently he reviewed a couple what he would call like pedestrian entry level malts,
Right.
Glenmorangie 10 and Glenfiddich 12.
That's right.
He said some things about these whiskeys that if you or I said, and we have, or I've said them before, we would get so much hate about like how these are just like for beginners. Like once you drink them, you kind of move past them. You never drink them again. They're very just like blended to shit and they're garbage.
Yeah.
He said some freaking, I was just laughing my face off when I heard what he was saying about Glenmorangie and Glenlivet 12. Let's play the Glenmorangie one real quick because it was like, it's just so good.
Almost anemic sour, and that's it. So if you're looking for a really safe single malt to give someone as a gift, which isn't going to frighten someone who's spent their life weaned on crunchy nut cornflakes, toasted marshmallows, and other sorts of confectionery foodstuffs, then this is the perfect malt for you. My mark.
So if you like eating cornflakes and have marshmallows in your cereal because you're so basic that you don't like flavor,
Right.
Glenmorangie 10, perfect for you.
It's perfect for you.
Absolutely
because
perfect.
It has zero taste,
Zero taste.
and essentially you have no palate.
It's straight garbage. Glenfiddich 12.
All very restrained because it's been engineered that way. And you have, frankly, a bottle of the perfect single malt for people who drink vodka.
So just savage takes, savage hot takes on something like this. So I reviewed Glenfiddich 12 and I compared it to Glenlivet 12. I did prefer the Glenfiddich, but like I said stuff like, you know what, you visit this in your whiskey journey very, very early because
Right.
it's one of those whiskeys that's always available and it's there. But I'm like, you move past this and you never go back. Like, why would you go back? Like, are you gonna buy Glenfiddich 12 ever again in your life?
I don't think so.
No, you're not going
There's
to.
no chance.
I'm not going to. I have a bottle of it. Why would I ever go to it? Never.
I don't even remember the last time I bought Glenfiddich.
Know how much hate I got in the comment section. People are just like, oh, whatever, man, you're such a snob. Like, Glenfiddich. I'm like, I'm not saying that like it's not something that like you would pass by and
Right.
go to. This Ralphie is like, you know what? If you like vodka, you'll like this. And people are just like in the comment section like, oh yeah, great review, Ralphie. You nailed it. Absolutely, like perfect. Me or you say something like this, just get slammed.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
get so slammed in the comments.
I wonder if it's because when they see Ralphie, like it's just a clientele. like we talked about empty calorie kind of like
Right.
subscribers.
They
and stuff
see
like that.
Ralphie, you know what, seasoned vet,
Yeah.
old school whiskey drinker, tells it like it is.
Yeah.
Me or you, just fucking like new kids on the block, douchebags
Yeah.
who like
Yeah.
don't have enough experience to like say anything reasonable or
That's right.
valuable about whiskey.
We can't know what we're talking about.
Of course not.
But so I think that's a big part of it. Age, definitely a factor. The fact that he's Scottish, the fact that he's been doing this for 10 years or more now. Those are all factors. It definitely plays that like we get how much. What like? Do you know what your percentage of people that are not subscribed to your channel that watch your video is? It's
It's the majority.
it's way majority. It's
Yeah.
like it's over 70%.
Yeah.
Which is absurd to me. But like I feel like we get those like more now than he would. Maybe he used to get them earlier on. But I feel like we get those like people that kind of like whiskey, that think they like whiskey, that really like Glenlivet 12
Yeah.
or Glenfiddich 12 because that's something they've been drinking for a few years or at least like 6 months.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden like that's their favorite whiskey because that's how the journey goes.
Sure.
And we're assholes for saying anything bad about it,
Yeah.
right? Whereas they see him, they're like, and he probably doesn't even attract that kind of viewer anymore because
Sure.
he's got what does he have now? Over 100,000 subscribers. So like majority of the people watching
He's getting close to 200,000 subscribers. He's at 174,000.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, and I think you're right. You nail the points of why his comment section is different than ours when we say the same thing, or not even like as bad as the same thing as Ralphie does about like certain entry level whiskeys that you drink and then you move by and you go to something else.
Perfect timing though, because tonight this one's gonna take a little bit of a beating.
Oh my god.
I guess we gotta score that.
Let's score it. So the Jack Daniels bonded. I mean, I would take it over the number 7. I would take it over the Gentleman's Jack.
Okay.
I would take it over those two. I would score it higher than those two for sure.
I think the single barrel select destroys this whiskey.
I agree.
And that's only 47%, which I don't understand. How is that so much better than this?
Yeah, because this thing has honestly, like the cask they selected to put in this, they've made it like it just seems like so manufactured for an easy drinking palate.
I think you nailed it.
There's no character in this.
That's the exact word that I was hoping you would use actually. Is manufactured. It just tastes, this is perfect for a club bar or like a
if you want to elevate your whiskey and coke or your bourbon and ginger or whatever.
Coke.
What do they call it?
Yeah, no, that's great though. It's
Right?
funny. Jack and Coke, yeah.
Jack and Coke. If you want to like elevate that, then this is actually like going to be great.
Yeah, because you get a little bit more
You
ABV,
get more
out of it.
ABV, a little more kick to it.
Yep.
But honestly, like on the palate, this thing thins out really quick. Finish is short.
Yeah.
Complexity not there. I would say there's honestly more complexity in the number 7 than there is in this.
Yeah,
You
because
get more of that boldness.
yeah, it's just less tampering. Less tampering in the number 7, less tampering. Well, the single barrel select probably 0 tampering. They just run it through that filtration system that they use with the charcoal, and then that's it. Maple wood.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, Jack Daniel's shines when it's the single barrels and especially the single barrel cask strengths, like the single barrel
Those are
proofs. That's where Jack Daniel's shines, and that's where we would direct anyone who's into drinking whiskey to try that stuff. For me, the score, I think it's like a high 70 for me. I think it's like a 78. I think it's okay.
Yeah. No, it's not bad whiskey. Like it's not. And what I mean by that, like I did say earlier, is this is bad whiskey. I didn't mean that it's bad. I just mean that like it's basic. It's as basic as it gets. Like
It is very basic.
if you gave this to me and told me to guess the ABV, I'd be completely wrong. I would be completely wrong.
I would be pretty close. I would
Yeah.
say 46.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say 46. I think, like, you get, like, just, like, this corn note on the tail end of it that seems like just,
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have that good Jack Daniels finish that, like, the single barrels have. Like, this thing is just, man.
I think that's my biggest criticism of it. That, like, and which is, I almost would take it as an insult that this is Jack Daniels, like the first Jack Daniels that won Whiskey of the Year for Whiskey Advocate, or is it? I don't know. I'm assuming, but maybe not. But I would take that as an insult. Like, this is not our character at all, and this is the one that you choose as our Whiskey of the Year. Our single barrel select is way better, and it's not that much more expensive. It's only
But they're gonna have, like, you know, 500,000 bottles of this available for sale. So
that's what it is. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I honestly think that, obviously, just like with Jim Murray, there's something else at play here.
yeah.
I'm gonna give it a 76.
Yeah, I think probably if you can get this for, you said 50 Canadian, I don't think it's worth that. But if you can get this thing, like, in the US for like $30,
Yeah.
I would bump up a mark maybe for value.
Okay.
Maybe make it to an 80.
I think what I should say here is, if you just want an easy drinking whiskey, you don't want to think about anything, you want to be able to sip it some days, you want to be able to pour it in your Coke one night, this is a decent whiskey for that.
I would say if you are a Gentleman Jack fan, go to this.
This is a better step up.
Go to this. If you're a Gentleman Jack lover, then absolutely get this thing, because I think this is a better version of Gentleman Jack.
If you had to say who did better, Whiskey Advocate with this pick or Jim Murray with the Crown Royal Northern Harvest Rye, who wins? Who wins?
That's like saying, would you rather be stabbed or shot?
Right? It's a would you rather?
Would you rather?
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, like that Crown Royal Northern Harvest Rye was the biggest disappointment I've ever experienced in whiskey. I remember, like, buying that and, like, really fighting to get a bottle of it.
Yeah. You
And
had
cracking it and pouring it. I'm like, this is it? Because, like, honestly, I had bought Jim Murray's whiskey Bibles the previous couple of years, and I was like reading through and, like, reading his, like, whiskeys of the year, and, like, it was like freaking BTAC bottles, and it was like crazy, like, epic stuff. And I had tried a BTAC bottle, I think, before that, and, like, I went to this, I'm like, how is this getting 97.5 or 98 points, and you've scored a freaking George T. Stagg the same or less, or a William LaRue Weller the same? And, like, that's the whole thing. It's like the scoring. You just can't score this thing 97 with a good conscience. Like, it's insane to think that.
So I gave it a 76. You gave it a 78.
Yeah.
That's 20 points less. Like, on it, like, almost 20 points less.
No one's gonna score this in the 90s that has any, like, reputable consideration at all. Like, you gotta be embarrassed putting out this magazine and being like, I think this is 3 points away from a perfect whiskey. 3 points away from a perfect whiskey. Insane thing to say.
Now, I'm not trying to be, I'm definitely not trying to get canceled here. But I gotta say, have you ever seen who works for a magazine? Have you, like,
I've never met
years,
anyone that works for a magazine.
So in recent years, I've met some people that have worked for magazines, and they tend not to be whiskey drinkers. So obviously, if you work for Whiskey Advocate, that should be a prerequisite, I would think. But I feel like PR takes over, and it's not necessarily that anymore.
100% agree.
Right? So you're not getting the right people voting for this. Like, if Whiskey Advocate pulled, which they can't do because then they lose all their money. Like, they need the money. Like, let's be honest, nobody's buying magazines anymore, so they need the funding from
100%.
Jack Daniels and Lagavulin and
100%.
whoever else is, Redbreast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just sad. It's sad. And whatever. I'm gonna leave my comment there because I don't want to offend anybody, but it's just, that's easy drinking, and whoever picked this doesn't like whiskey. They want something that, like Ralphie said,
Pedestrian.
yeah, it's
Very-
pedestrian.
very
It
pedestrian.
drinks a little bit better than a vodka. It's
If you like marshmallows in your cornflakes,
right.
you'll probably like
If you like
this.
roasted marshmallows and cornflakes as a staple in your diet, this is for you.
You'll like some flavorless stuff like this.
Yeah, this is for you.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is the way that we're heading, right? And, like, again, another reason why the online Scotch Whisky Awards are doing their thing, and, like, you get, like, an unbiased, uninfluenced by money. Because, like, all these big, like, Whiskey Advocate, even, like, Cigar Aficionado, you know, you look at cigars, like it's the people who pay for the most advertising space in the magazine that
Yep.
get, like, the top spots.
Right.
And, of course, if we ran a business, we would probably do the same thing.
I mean, I would
It's
hope
a business,
not, but yeah.
But it is though.
But it is
because,
what
like,
it is.
You have to have, like, your magazine's gonna die if you don't have the advertising dollars.
Yeah.
Right? And it's already dying. So, like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. I feel really bad for magazine writers and that whole industry because I don't see it ever coming back. Like, it's not going to get better from here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm watching the show on HBO, Succession.
Love it.
Great show.
Love it.
But it's like they are reflecting in that show what's happening right now. It's like you have a dinosaur running this huge conglomerate
Yeah.
that, let's face it, his finger's no longer on the pulse.
Yep.
Like,
100%.
he has 4 kids that probably would do a better job than he could,
Yeah.
but he's fighting it. I don't know how far you are, but
Okay, I'm caught up.
I'm not. So I'm on season. I just started season 3.
Oh man, so good.
I love it. I think
So
it's great.
good. It is
I
a
think
really
it's
good show. But you're right. And yeah, I mean, it's the way it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, here's the thing. Whiskey Advocate pays us each $200,000 a year to turn that magazine on its head and make everybody buy that magazine. I think we're up for the task.
Let's do it.
$200,000 a year, American, of course.
Hey, between Whiskey Advocate paying us $200,000, the LCBO paying us $200,000,
Right.
and, like, someone else obviously paying us $200,000
For sure.
to just say what everyone else knows, what all our viewers already know.
All our viewers already know,
They
but
know.
yeah, that's true. You're right. It's true.
So Jack Daniel's bonded. I think it's going to be a good cocktail whiskey. I think that you could put this into things and it would,
This
like,
is a
definitely
great
elevate a
cocktail
cocktail. I think it's priced for a cocktail whiskey. But yeah, I mean, Whiskey Advocate obviously named it because they need to for advertising dollars. 97 points really is where it gets me. It's like, it's crazy to do that. I've said it before, whatever.
Like you said, I think you just irresponsible.
It's irresponsible. It's the dumbest thing ever. It's like you have no self-respect if you say this is worth 97 out of 100. 3 points away from a perfect whiskey, not even close. Anyone who tries it would tell you that as well.
I really hope that I've never tried a whiskey that's 3 points away from 100.
We know some of the best reviewers. Well, we do know the best reviewers on YouTube that have tried the most stuff. They've never scored anything like that high before.
No.
And they've tried the best whiskeys of all time.
Yeah. Yep.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
You look at Serge from Whiskey Fun. He's tried more whiskeys. He's reviewed more whiskeys than anyone else on the entire planet,
Yep.
as far as, like, Scotch and the best whiskeys are concerned. And he rarely touches that number. And if he does, it's something very, very special.
Yeah.
Not a 4-year-old Kentucky whiskey that's been dripped through freaking charcoal.
So, like, what's 100 then for these guys? Like, any of the barrel proofs?
Now we'll find out in a couple of years, probably. Right.
Have they
Once
given-
their magazine, it, like, gets to the point where, like, if there's no sales, they'll just throw it at 100.
Yeah,
They'll
this
just throw it
is
at
a 100
They'll just
out of
throw
100.
it at
list.
100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That day they'll make a lot of money on a magazine,
Yeah,
and then that's it.
100%.
That's it. The magazine world. I really feel bad about it because I used to love magazines. I used to love them. But
Some people still like the print, you know? Like, a lot of people will still go out and buy, like, a paperback novel versus, like, reading on their Kindle because it's just, like, there's something about just the physical, you know...
And I'm with you. I do that myself.
Yeah.
I'm all about, actually, I buy only hardcover.
There you go.
Right?
You're hardcore.
But, yeah, I don't think, I guess maybe for me, magazines have never been that thing that I need to have. So I guess
It depends on how you consume media. Like for me,
Yeah.
it's video. I consume all video, really.
Yeah.
Other people, you know, they like read books.
Yeah,
It's that book learning.
To sum it up, I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but I feel like that's what we did a little bit tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you know, our viewers are wise to stuff like this. They don't like take Whiskey Advocate or Jim Murray or whoever else. Even like the freaking San Francisco like awards, right? Like those things seem so sketchy too. Even though they're supposed to be done like in a blind tasting, they still seem like so sketch. They come out with these like whiskeys of the year. You're like, what, that one? Really?
I know.
Really?
It's sad, and like it really bothers me because I hope tonight, because we had this as like the feature of our podcast, new people that are just getting into whiskey watch this and actually like, you know, said there's a world here that I need to explore if I'm listening to a Whiskey Advocate once a year.
Yeah.
And buying the whiskey of the year.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
If I'm buying the Jim Murray Whiskey Bible and the whiskey, like,
Yeah.
if you want writing to continue to flourish, why are you selling yourself like
Yeah.
a cheap
Yep. Absolutely.
fill in the blank?
Yeah. Take away the scores and just say like this is our most available value whiskey that you can get.
That
And then-
that everybody won't have a problem with.
Sure, you can go on the shelf right now. You can buy this whiskey and it's affordable. That's our whiskey of the year. Okay, sure, that's fine. But to say that this is 97 points better than anything else ever is so stupid and so dumb, and I hate it.
And their score is going up every year because if you look at the scoring this year, it's
Of
at
course.
least 2
You gotta-
points
yeah,
higher than
you gotta-
it was last
yeah,
year.
You gotta be like, oh yeah, soon it's gonna be a perfect whiskey soon.
Very soon.
100 out of 100, and then from there you gotta go 101. Right? Who's gonna be the first
The
idiot?
bonus one.
Who's gonna be the first idiot to score a whiskey 101
Above perfect.
out of 100?
If you drink this whiskey, not only will you turn into a god,
Right? They're gonna start promising crazy stuff. You think Viagra is good? Wait till you try this.
wait till you try this whiskey.
Yeah.
You will die a happy man after trying this
God.
whiskey.
That's gonna do it for us. Thanks so much for watching. If you tried this Jack Daniel's Bottled and Bond, let us know what you think about it. And yeah, Whiskey Advocate magazine. Maybe like throw out your whiskey of the year in the comment section down
Please.
below. Throw out a whiskey of the year that you think is good value, and maybe like available. That's something that's not this.
Yeah, try to pick one and tell us if this cracked your top 50, if you got to try it. Okay, maybe you didn't try 50 whiskeys this year. Tell us if it cracked your top 20.
Yeah. Again, thanks so much for watching, guys. Much appreciated. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Cheers.
This is a whiskey that's easily shocked with ice. As soon as you add ice, flavour gone.